hello, and welcome to the Painted Bread Quarterly Slush Pile. We're so happy that you've chosen to listen into this episode. Wait till you hear how special this episode is. But first, let me back up and say what we do here is discuss submissions to the magazine. Essentially, we have an editorial meeting on air. So we're always so grateful to you, Slushies, for listening in, and especially to our poets for allowing us to discuss their work in this manner. So there's a lot of twos happening, right? It's a very unusual episode in that we're discussing the work of two different poets, Martha Silano and Jane Hilberry. And Marion and I are in bed together.
We are actually in bed together.
Without me.
No,
I know.
I am so hurt.
And it's a big bed. You would fit.
This is aspirational for the slush pile. I think we need a giant bed episode when we're all in bed together, sharing a microphone.
It's like slush pile truth or dare.
Is it?
Right.
I love it.
Right. So usually we go around the room and say where everybody is. So I'm Kathleen Volkmiller, and I am right next to Marion Wren in bed in a fabulous hotel in Charlotte, North Carolina. So who knows what'll happen in the next 45 minutes. But let's stay in North Carolina because that's fun.
Yes, indeed.
We're not often in the same state as the fair Lisa. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. How far are you from here? Can you come jump in bed with us?
Not in time for the podcast, sadly, but I am probably like half a mile. I could, if I walked quickly, I could maybe be there by the end of the hour. So I'm delighted that you are both in my fair city. And Dagny, I think, are you our only person who is not in the US at this point?
I think that's right. So I'm up in Canada where I tend to hang out. I'm always missing you guys and wishing I was there, but instead I'm just here on a regular chair.
It's not too late. You can hop in bed. You can
Well, if I was on a laptop right now, I might consider just doing that, but lifting my entire desktop computer would be a bit of a challenge. So with that,
we have Lisa in earbuds on her phone walking rapidly. Your laptop. So we have Angelique and Jason are both in the state of New York.
Yeah.
I don't know. Other states might be, but they are at least in the same state.
Very states of undress.
Yeah.
Angelique, are you in bed, Angelique? We don't know.
Sadly, no. I've already worked out this morning. I am wearing my David Dye t-shirt that I won from an XPN festival many moons ago. But I'm actually probably closer to you, Dagny. I'm outside of Syracuse. So
well, maybe we'll figure something out. Then.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm just in Manhattan. I'm
You're
not in bed
your
because I would
happy
not
place.
stay awake. But yes, I'm very happily ensconced in the sweltering hot box sauna that is the island of Manhattan.
Yikes.
That is New York. Yeah. Yeah.
And Vivian, where are you? Is Philly hot and sweaty?
Today's weather is fine, and I'm Vivian. I'm here to record today. I'm on campus right now.
Nice.
Oh, there she is on campus, and we are goofing around.
She's gonna tell. She's gonna tell
all the things.
She's gonna tell the
And
drama.
we wonder why higher education is going down the tubes.
Right? That's what happens with the arts and
This is why I
humanities.
pay this tuition.
Right?
You're going to be exposed to these shenanigans.
This kind of shenanigans.
Oh my, oh my. Well, we're sure that our poets who have tuned in after graciously allowing us to work probably want us to get to it. So I think we should get to it. First up today, we have Martha Silano, The Luck of It. Who wants to read? If Marion reads, I'll tickle her.
Oh my Lord.
Maybe not Marion. Unless you want to.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, ready?
She wants to do it.
Behave.
I won't touch her. I'm going to
Behave.
What?
All right.
Look, I'll see from being.
Okay. Right? You're still within arm's reach there, sister.
Listen.
Okay. The
I love you so much.
All right, Martha Silano, thank you for letting us read your poem, The Luck of It. What counts is that my car, when it gets broken into, what's gone is replaceable. Like that leather jacket my friend Allison threw at me when she left for California. Please take it. I got a new one for Christmas. Once, when I left it unlocked, someone spent the night in my Hyundai. All in all, I was happy to offer a place of refuge, especially on account of nothing stolen. Not the extra pair of socks, not my maroon hat or hand sani, the only tip-off being the empty bottle of Sprite. Sprite! I mean, you're kidding me. My husband jokes how I get so excited about the crumb that drops on my plate from that giant chocolate croissant in the sky, tells me I'm likely a housefly with a tiny chunk of pizza it can't believe it's had the good fortune to land on. And look, it's even got a little dab of pepperoni juice. It seems I set the bar low. And maybe he's right. Though when I ran track, the field part kind of scared me. In 10th grade, when Suzanne Glester broke the state record in the high jump, I could barely keep myself from looking away as her contorted body landed in a heap on a thick mat that never seemed thick enough. Honestly, I'm just glad I'm not the guy on Nextdoor who posted about the lonely chicken. I see her wandering around. Seems like she need another little hen. Do any of you have one you'd like to rehome? Or the woman who shared someone's been racing their car up Juneau, making a hairpin turn onto Seward Park Avenue. It literally rattles our windows. I'm tempted to respond, I feel your pain, but having rattling windows means you live in a home. I guess what I'm trying to say is that when two guys were about to kick in our basement window, I happened to stroll by with a bag of dirty Huggies for the bin. Yep, a load of dirty diapers saved us.
Very nice,
read.
Marion.
Luck of it. The luck of it.
The luck of it. Yeah, I'm really glad that you read that one, Marion. Its sentiment reminds me of you.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Making hot fudge sundaes out of shit sundaes.
Yes.
Yes, I think that might be a thing.
Will this be a first for the slush pile ending with dirty diapers? Pretty provocative.
Right, like carrying a sack of dirty diapers as a way of thwarting an attack is
Well,
Yeah.
there was. This is before the slush pile, but the where we didn't know the reference to night soil.
oh right.
Yeah,
Right.
there was a time where we published a poem not knowing that a
yeah.
significant part of it was about a medieval
Shit.
euphemism for poop.
Ah.
And later we were like,
Oh.
still like the poem, but probably should have known that when we were putting it in the journal.
Oh
So
my goodness.
I think it's our first diapers, but I'm going to say not our first poop.
Okay, not your first poop. Great.
Yeah. Wow,
Should
the
we do
motion.
a PSA on this poem?
Yeah. Wait, why?
A
Yeah.
public
Is that-
service announcement?
Well,
Oh, on the salvatory powers of diapers.
no, isn't it the poetic structure announcement?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Do you want to do a poetic structure announcement?
Well, so tercets, 3-line stanzas.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Absolutely.
With one
Longish
couplet in
lines.
the middle.
Yeah.
Oh yes, couplet. Thank you. I missed that one. Yes.
but long tersets, right? Like
Long.
it really
Really long lines. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I was just going to say that as a reminder to newbies, and as our slushies know, go to the website pbqmag.org and you'll be able to see what we're talking about. I don't want to interrupt you, Lisa, but there's also when there's different voices, they come in italics.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it might be helpful to take a look as well.
Yeah, lots of different voices here. Lots of reported speech.
You don't even have to pause this. We'll just wait for you. Go look.
Did you have those little thinker cassettes when you were like a kid? There's like this series of my parents had this thing. It was like they would give it to me with there's like a cassette you put in your Walkman and a drawing pad, and then they would be like, "Now draw the picture of the city," and you like they play music while you drew the
Oh,
city,
Oh.
and like we should have like the like checking your check the poems text music.
Oh, I like that.
Right.
But we have to like actually, I can't just do the.
We'll have to record you, Jason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't want me doing improvisational reading music while the Slushies get to the webpage.
I want to jump in and talk about the diction, perhaps. What counts is that my car, when it gets broken into, what's gone is replaceable. There's something such like there's almost a vernacular quality
yeah.
to that, right? It's like, where are you going? I'm going down the shore, right? Like there's a way that the grammar is catching a really informal
It's
speech.
very conversational. I love that. Yeah.
Even the repetition, the empty bottle of Sprite.
Right.
Sprite. I mean, you're kidding me.
Right.
Right.
You can kind of feel the nudge, like Sprite.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? Yeah.
I did have a hard time though, because like the conversationalness of it means that the sentences often don't follow through on themselves. So
Right.
what counts is that my car,
Right.
when it gets broken into, like what counts is that my car, when it gets broken into, is replaceable. Or but then it's what's gone is replaceable, and then it's like, wait, but we have a new subject, and like what? And like a lot of times there's this way, like what you were saying about like you're going down to the shore, like you know, you're not really worried about complete sentences, you're just getting the information across. And so this often does that, where like the sentence kind of starts over in the middle. And then the same way with the lyric leaps, where it's just like, oh, we're not talking about that anymore. Like we've kind of bounced our way into this other conversational space.
Yeah, I had a couple trips for sure where I had to like reread for a second to understand. And even in that first stanza, who says I got a new one for Christmas? Allison.
It's her.
I assumed it was the speaker, and that's part of the luck of it.
I agree. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say I read these yesterday, and this one, I was just like, I didn't really click with it until middle way through, but hearing Marion read it again out loud to me, I was like, oh, some of those things that tripped me up, I got through it, I guess, because you were saying it to me.
That's interesting. Yeah, that makes sense.
So is the action in the first stanza that when the car is broken into, the leather jacket that the friend gave the speaker was the thing that was stolen, but then she got a new one for Christmas?
Yes.
That's exactly how I read it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I'm in agreement with you, Jason, that it's like these sentences start with one thing and then the subject becomes something else, and then it's a lot of close attention and shifting. And I think that is also true of this metaphor that starts in the third stanza about the crumb that drops on my plate from that giant chocolate croissant in the sky that somehow turns into a tiny chunk of pizza.
Yeah.
This is kind of bonkers, right?
It's kind of a classic squirrel brain presentation, you know. It's like, is this somebody who's stayed up too late and they're overly caffeinated for something, and they've gone down, you know, kind of all of these corridors thinking about these things, like, you know. But it does feel like it would come about in a breathless conversation, you know, to a friend or a family member or whatever. So it's lack of commitment to coherence didn't bother me, because the way it's embodied felt, I don't know, just very real, very real and relatable, I suppose.
Well, the persona is so excited to talk to us. Like there is a kind of like excitement that sort of pulls you in.
Yeah.
I have another logistic question. The the running track. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
When
Mhm.
Susan Glester broke the state record in the high jump, I could barely keep myself from looking away as her contorted body landed in a heap on a thick mat.
Yeah.
So does Susan get hurt in the jump?
No, I mean, that's
I
just
don't-
what
I
you
didn't
do
read it
in
that
high
way.
jump.
Yeah.
Okay, why I could barely keep myself from looking away, and her contorted body
Yeah.
made me think of, like, we say we can't stop looking at the accident or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
some that contorted sounds like something's wrong.
Right.
And I could barely keep myself from looking away. Why would you need to look away?
Right. Because it's so like wonderfully twisted because there's envy there, right? She's
Mm.
envying Susan Glester, right?
Hmm.
And she's watching this leap that breaks a record, right? And she's conflicted. She wants to look away, right? Like,
Oh, I didn't even read it that way. That's so
how did you
interesting.
read it? How did you read it?
So my eldest was in track and field. And I guess in my mind, you have to contort your body to get over the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in my like more in a morose way, when they hit, you hope they hit right
Mhm.
so they
Sure.
don't injure themselves. So if she has
Exactly.
the type of brain where she's I don't know, maybe manifesting, but like if you think about like, ooh, if you hit that landing wrong, you could hurt yourself. And it's
Okay.
like that's how I read it.
Exactly.
Wow.
Oh, me too, Angelique. And I did high jump when I was in school. And I
Okay,
mean,
yeah.
it's a really weird thing you have to do, and throwing yourself
Yes.
up and over and backwards, and you can land
Especially-
really funny. Yeah.
Right. And especially as the bar gets higher and higher, you have to do everything you can to get over the bar.
Yeah. It's
So,
just,
and-
and it's messy often.
It is messy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and that the landing on a mat that's just thick enough, right? That
Right.
never seemed thick
Oh, they're
enough,
so hard.
right?
Yeah,
And it's
that's
funny,
what I'm
it's like
saying.
now that we're talking about this, I was in love with this guy in high school who went on to be he was a high jumper. He was doing this thing and he landed wrong and completely cracked a
Oh.
leg. Yeah, like it was all
Ah.
bones kimbo, right? So
There you go.
yeah.
All right. All right.
So with a
Yeah.
lot of a barely thick enough mat, right?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
you could do that. And how do we feel about I set the bar low,
Mm-hmm.
meaning she's happy with crumbs,
Right.
but then also going right into the bar, jumping.
Right.
Oh,
I love that run into it, because to me, that's the whole kind of train of thought, right? Is you set the
Yeah.
bar low and then, oh yeah, that reminds me.
Mm-hmm.
So how is the lonely chicken lucky? Is this like a kind of a zany list poem of all the lucky things?
Maybe.
Like trying to find
didn't-
the
I
luck of
didn't
it?
understand what's embarrassing about being the guy on Next Door with a lonely chicken. Like when I was like, honestly, I'm just glad I'm not the guy on Next Door. And I thought, something terrible was going to happen to him, where he's going to humiliate himself or say some awful thing. And instead he's just like, I'd like a friend for my chicken. And I'm like, what? Well,
I
that
think she
seems
doesn't want to have
okay.
that pain. She doesn't want to have to home a chicken.
Yeah.
That's how I read that one.
Oh,
Oh, that's so interesting. Like this
At
is
least I
do you
don't-
guys know what next door is?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
But I thought she said it.
No,
she says,
no,
"Glad
I
I'm
don't.
not."
All right.
Okay.
Oh,
I
explain
don't.
that.
I've been the lady with a lone chicken, so we can
Yeah.
talk about that if you want, because I just lost her. But tell me about next door, because I don't know.
So next door is like and it's a social media for neighborhoods, right? So
Okay.
like, and then people post like everything from like your pet's loose to there's a stranger on my porch
Or
to
can you give me a plumber you recommend?
yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I have a room to rent. Does anyone know someone who'd want to looking
But-
to stay in the neighborhood?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
But it
great.
often devolves into
Exactly.
kind of awful
It's still social
commentary
media.
of,
Yeah.
racial profiling or people being
Paranoia.
ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why, Jason, I was surprised too with the chicken, because I was like, oh, there's so many bad examples on next door, and this guy's being kind of sweet,
Yeah. So did you guys read it as I did, that the speaker doesn't want to feel responsible for the chicken? That's why she feels bad for this guy, because
Right.
she's glad she's not having to find a home for her chicken.
Kathy, that makes the most sense to me, because I can't see any other reason to be uncomfortable about it.
Right.
But then then the speaker, I'm tempted to respond, I feel your pain, but having rattling windows means you live in a home, is
But
is a sort of snarky, like, virtue signaling, like,
Yes.
right? Which is interesting tonally, right? Like, it's different from like, oh, I pity the man with a broken heart for a chicken, right?
Then the next line is her reprimanding somebody else
Yeah,
for their
for
feelings.
not being
Yeah.
great.
Right. Not being
Yeah.
great.
but it
That's
switches from the
not-
chicken guy to the woman who has the person racing their car up their street.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
she's
that's the
telling
person where she's saying, like, hey, you have a house. Stop complaining about your rattling windows.
right.
Homed person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And it is quite a shift.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting to me because in my next door, I got off next door because it's so many like
Yeah.
retirees like with pitchforks, and so the way I kind of read that was you know, thank God I'm not these people. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know.
I
Maybe
will
I don't
never
get too-
ever think of next door as anything but retirees with pitchforks.
That's what I'm saying, you know what I mean? It's just like at least I'm not the guy on next door. It's, so I, like his whole life is revolving around a wandering chicken. It's like where
Right.
I live, I see wandering chickens all the time. I'm just like, hopefully nobody, hits that, but I'm not like going on social media, rat-a-tat-tat, I don't know. I read that in a little bit of different way, but I do feel like there's something going on here where she's always looking at glass half full versus, and so there is, to your
Yeah.
point, like some
Yeah.
virtue thing is like, well, at least you live in a home,
Right.
and
Yeah. No, right. I'm sorry to interrupt you. So
no,
not only is she lucky and grateful, she wants everybody else to be too.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is Sprite exciting for the person who slept in her car?
Oh, no.
Why is
it's
Sprite?
That I
funny. This
can.
made me think of like the first time I moved off of college campus into a place with my friends. My car was broken into, and it was like all the money I got from college. I bought this like 1986 Honda CRX 2-seater, which I drove around the country in. And I had that. You remember the lock you'd put across the steering wheel? I had that,
Oh
Yeah.
but they
God,
got
yeah.
into the car. Do you know what I mean? The lock with
Yeah,
the
that was like,
key.
I'm trying to remember the name of it.
I'm
Like that was like
totally
everyone
dating
had them.
myself right now.
No, I mean like everyone had those, and now like they're a complete artifact. You have to
Yeah.
explain to anyone like under 30.
Totally. But I came out that morning to go to work, and like obviously they had rummaged through my car, and the only thing they had taken, like there were CDs there, like back in the day you watch, listen to CDs. They took freaking suntan lotion, and it was just like suntan lotion. Like I've got
Really?
CDs here, I've got other stuff like sunglasses, but they like had my glove box was open, and it was like suntan lotion, and that was the only thing I had noticed
That's
missing.
so weird.
It was so random. So I got that part about the Sprite, although
Yeah.
I guess if it was a homeless person, you're collecting cans, I don't know. Maybe that's why they took the Sprite bottle, but that made me think of my
I
own
thought they
house.
left behind a Sprite.
Yeah, they left behind an
Yeah.
empty Sprite
Left
bottle.
behind a Sprite.
Yeah.
That's how she even knew anybody was
Yes.
there.
The only tip off being the empty bottle of Sprite.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh, totally
His
missed
dad in
that
the
out.
car drank a Sprite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sprite. I mean, you're kidding me. Like, who drinks
They were
that?
thirsty.
It just doesn't seem that weird. Like Sprite just
I
doesn't seem weird to me.
I know. And maybe that's why it's like crumbs from the great croissant in the sky, because nothing bad happened. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't, nothing bad happened. And
It was so boring. It was
Yeah.
so dull. It was so unremarkable. Yeah. Yeah.
okay. Well,
I
what
mean,
do
I
you
love all the pieces, but I might want a little more connective tissue. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you ready to vote on this? But I think you
Yeah.
just said something that's really important too, about the sort of like cascading wildness, the spiral of the poem, right? But do the pieces cohere, right? Like, or maybe the lack of coherence is kind of the point. So is it mimetic? Like, is it imitating a squirrel mind, or is it doing something else, right?
Well, and you could argue that it's also reflecting the nature of luck, which
Right.
itself is random.
What you
and
make of it,
is
frankly.
what you make of it, and doesn't have a lot of connective tissue. And right at the end of that first stanza, that in parentheses, I got a new one for Christmas,
Mhm.
signals that the speaker knows her own luck.
Yeah.
And it ends on that with the dirty diapers. So for me, I see a lot of kind of points threading through it that I feel like do give it a coherence, in spite of the fact that this piece is really about a lack of coherence and randomness.
Yeah. Well said. All right, friends, we ready?
Thumbs.
Are we ready?
I'm ready.
You ready? I've never voted in bed next to you. This is so exciting. I feel
Oh
like
my gosh. Well, don't clash thumbs.
seriously. 1, 2, 3, go.
Ah, interesting. So where
Okay.
are we? We are,
we-
no.
Oh, it's not. Okay. Wow.
Okay,
Oh.
interesting.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you, Martha Silano, and thank you for letting us discuss that poem. Lots to think about. Lots to think about. Okay.
Absolutely.
I believe we're on to Jane Hilberry.
Yeah.
And who would like
We
to
have 2 of
read I
those.
Might Have Planned Badly?
Could I read it?
Please.
Gonna try. I still have my list for my missing tooth, but I'm gonna try and do it justice.
I think you're doing a great job.
So Jane Hilberry, I might have planned badly. My friends are gaga over their grandkids over the moon. Pictures on their phones of the toddler pushing the vacuum, the dog sleeping wrapped around the child. My God, I was driven. I translated every word of Beowulf, working out each noun's case ending, nominative, accusative, genitive, dative, or a vestigial instrumental. I spent my 20s in a library, Carol, until 2 a.m. closing. I could regret it now, but there was no stopping that one, whoever she was. Baby, I'm going to be 70 soon, and 80.
Well
Great
done.
reading.
Great
Great
reading. Yeah.
I like the energy of this piece. It's so short,
Mhm.
but you just like, woo, in and out.
Right.
Yeah.
And these are big issues too, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
questioning a child-free life,
Mhm.
second guessing yourself, right? I might have planned badly. But then I kind of zoom at the end too, right? Mm.
Yeah, I don't think she has I could regret it
Right.
now, but she
Doesn't seem
doesn't. I
right.
think she's
She's
saying,
choosing
but
not.
Well, moving on, moving on.
yeah,
Just in a different space than they are.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Kathy, I think that's exactly right. I think this poem hinges on those two verbs, the might and the could,
Right.
that
Yeah.
that it's implied, I might have planned badly, but didn't, could regret it, but don't,
Absolutely. And that last line, I think, could not be more affirming,
Right.
right? Very empowered in that last
Yeah.
line.
I like the distance from the younger self. There's no stopping that one, whoever she was. Like,
Yeah,
that's sort of like,
yeah.
huh, yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
That was me.
Yeah. Right.
And
And
yet
that
at
and
the same
Yeah.
time, it's also, but I am still that person too, because I'm
Yeah.
going to keep on going this way. So it's
Yeah.
lovely. It has both of that.
Yeah.
and I
and
like
calling herself baby, in reference to
Yes,
the babies in the first
Oh,
line.
please, I was going to
exactly.
say I wanted to talk about that baby in the last line because it feels like an address to the reader too, right? It's like, is she calling herself baby or addressing the reader? Either way, that's the the object, right, of the replacement baby or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Art monster.
Did you say heart monster?
I said art monster.
Oh, art monster.
Yeah,
I was
sorry.
like, wait,
It should be- you're so
no, I when you say art monster, yeah, I'm familiar.
sorry.
But yeah.
I also really like in the first line how, there's this a little bit of judgment of the friends, just that they're gaga over their grandkids, over the moon with the exclamation point, you know? And clearly she doesn't quite get it. And then and there's not a seg to the second stanza as far as my God, I was driven, except for the attention to language. So I kind of love that tension between the friends being reduced to toddler language, while the reflection is she was so attuned to the language of Beowulf and all the different endings of the nouns. I thought that was well done.
Yeah, well said.
The whole piece feels like it embodies a flash of insight to me. So echoing what you've just said, Lisa, about, yeah, you can kind of see the eye roll in the first stanza with the friends, you know, maybe it's a loving one, but still it's an eye roll. And then, you know, you go hard into the, you know, her obsession with the world of academia, and then kind of come out the other end. And there's just something about how I said before, you're in and you're out. It kind of matches that flash of insight. And it's like, yeah, and I'm good with that.
Do we want to vote? Do we want to?
What's funny, Jay, I feel like we could. I feel like it's short, and I feel like we could vote. Yeah.
Yeah, don't need to drag it out.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's do it. 1, 2, 3, vote. And it's in. Thank you, Jane Hilberry. We got one more. Coastal Callie.
Right, by Jane Hilberry, same poet, right?
Yeah.
Right, very good. Anyone want to read Coastal Callie?
I'll read it if no one else is interested.
Read it, Lisa.
Okay. Coastal Callie. At the intersection, a stream of newly washed Benzes and Bentleys. A man in a camel coat surveys a cafe patio. I'm dressed inappropriately, he says. He's crew for Hollywood Medium. Against the roar of leaf blowers, Que Tiempo Hace Hoy plays on someone's radio. It's breezy, 75. Meanwhile, at the water, surfers lift and fall, surge and sink. The dark triangles of their heads and shoulders move like fins in undulating circles till one rises, twists, and V's, rides the wave into a bloom of foam. What is this world, wrote Chaucer? What asketh man to have? Xanax for the rough days. I can't identify the flora. Yarrow, ice plant, or remember the gods of the sea. Zephyr, Poseidon. No one here calls it the sea.
Well read.
Yeah, nice.
Right. Yeah. I love that move to Chaucer at the end.
I would like to start with these 3 stanzas being so very separate from one another.
Yeah.
That is not a criticism, it's just a note. Like, that's interesting.
Yeah, each one's different. Yeah, in its construction.
All right.
Not just construction, but topic.
But
and
Oh, interesting.
yeah,
But the last one.
PSA, sorry. Look at the placement of meanwhile, right? It's sort of dropped in the middle of the poem. Are we looking at 2 stanzas or 1 stanza? Is my question for you. I mean, 2 stanzas or 3 stanzas. Go and check it out, because meanwhile is indented like 3 tabs. And it could be a second stanza, or it could be part of the first.
Don't you see a line break?
No.
I read it as a drop line.
Yeah.
Because if you read it as a drop line, then or like the line, you know, just like drops down a little bit, but it's still the same line as the one above it. Because then it actually is a sonnet. Then you get to 14 lines and the motion makes sense. Like the previous one was sonnet-like, but I think this is actually sonnet.
Okay, so now I want to go back to your point, which is like the 3 chunk topics.
Yeah,
that appear.
Yeah.
Kathy, can I ask a question? Do you think it's, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Let me just finish that thought on meanwhile, because that's the logic, I think, of the juxtaposition of the images. this is happening, is that is happening, is that is
Yeah.
happening, might
Yeah.
be the and the placement of meanwhile is like pretty blatant. Angelique, I'm sorry, what were you saying?
No, I was gonna agree. I think it's all happening at the same moment. Like coastal Cali, like I remember times where I would just, when I lived in LA, there's the spot like where, at Santa Monica, you can just sit. So like there's the street. So this is happening over here. And then I'm just staring at the water, but I'm hearing this guy in a camel coat on, the strip or whatever. Like I thought it was all kind of happening at the same time, that the person is sitting there in the space between. So he or she is looking out at the water. I love that. I loved how she talked about the surfers. That's exactly, I love the word undulating. Being in that moment, like watching that, but there's like all this stuff happening behind me. That's kind of how I read it. And then also just having that moment, like as your brain moves through, like, what is this world? I also love the Chaucer moment. I was just like, you're like staring at the ocean, or no one here calls it the sea, right? Yeah. So I kind of saw it all happening at the same time for this person.
Sure.
Right. And so that stream of consciousness, right, is performed in this sonnet. And what I really like are these signals, like at the intersection, right? And then you get these intersection of images, right? And then the meanwhile giving you a sense of like the way time and space is being compressed, which is why I think Chaucer is such a delight, because you get the past into this present moment, right? So it's really, it seems super casual in a way, right? But it also feels like it's really tightly wound around those moves.
It's interesting to contrast the Chaucer too within the first stanza. I had to look up Que tiempo hace hoy, and that it's a Spanish song teaching the weather.
Oh.
So it's not like it's a pop song. It's, it's actually like an educational song for children.
That's so great.
Wow.
Which kind of made me go, that's really interesting, and quite a veer away from, from Chaucer or Hollywood medium for that matter. It's just
What a choice of show that he works for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Yeah.
I
That also
did
kind of
love
brings us
the
back-
intelligence of this poem, and how there are these questions that are woven through that are then answered, but just in a kind of wry and the wry humor and in an intelligent fashion. Like what's the weather today, and then it's breezy 75.
Exactly. I love that. Yeah.
It was a really nice moment. And then I would also like to say I see a vestige of an abecedarian in this poem, and I kept trying to track the whole thing, but I kind of love that it's still it's there, but it's not 100% there. But I love that it was left.
Quite right.
Yeah, no, it's definitely there. Oh my God, I didn't see that at
Yeah.
all. That's, yeah,
Yeah, it just went oof.
Xanax. Yeah.
Yeah, the WXYZ at the end, those last lines, that's great.
And it does start with at Benz's and Cafe. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And I want to say that the answer to what is this world is coastal Cali.
Yeah.
That it's like almost like it's a foreign land, because it is such a strange place sometimes. And it does such a good job of describing that weird situation.
I love that the answer to the like what asketh man to have, the answer is Xanax.
Guilty.
Agreed. Duly noted. And it's interesting too. I'm sorry, I know we're not meant necessarily to be laying the poems next to each other, but it just feels like this combination of poems today really are in the spirit of that spiraling, that sense of like stream of consciousness, performing stream of consciousness, a structure, and then voice. Like, so like the voice of the speaker becoming the I don't know, like the momentum of the poem, right? That's the thing that you're enamored by or struck by.
I also like Xanax for the rough days following the observation of the waves and the surfers too. It's just kind of a nice segue.
We
Is
might
it voting time?
Eddie,
Does the silence mean we've all decided?
silence means perhaps
we're digesting the poem, but I think we're ready.
we are ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Do it.
Oh, there was dramatic tension in the rotation of the thumb, Slushy. Interesting.
But it's it.
Jen, bravo,
Woo.
bravo.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, Jane Hilberry. Thank you
Jane
so
Hilberry.
much.
Excellent.
Wow. What a group. What a group of
What a
poems.
great
What a fun
poems
time.
today. Right.
Are we so lucky we
seriously.
get to lay in bed and drink mimosas and talk
And
about
talk about these
poetry?
wonderful poems, right? Martha Silano and Jane Hilberry and our friends across the state and the country and the continent. What is even going on right now? Meanwhile, back in our mimosa bed. Yes. Thank you, poets.
Yeah, thank you so much. Anybody have anything they'd like to say?
It would be hard to top that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, poets. Thank you, slushies, and keep reading.
Keep reading.
Woo!
Bye.
Yay.